أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin by praising Allah Azza wa Jalla for His bounties and seeking forgiveness from Allah for my own sins and shortcomings, and on behalf of all of us present and all mu'mineen and mu'minat, may Allah forgive us and guide us and keep us on the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad alayhimus salam. As many of you may know, tomorrow is the 8th of Rabi' al-Thani, and we will be honoring the birth of our 11th Imam, Imam Al-Hassan Al-Askari alayhi salam on that day. Yesterday we had a program in honor of our 11th Imam. Tomorrow is the actual day of his birth, according to some reports. And so in this khutbah, I would like to speak a little bit about the teachings of our 11th Imam. In particular, inshallah, we will look at 3 ahadith or teachings that are brought to us from our 11th Imam, Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Zaki al-Askari alayhim as-salam. Imam Hassan Askari was born in the year 232 after the Hijrah, about 200 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he, according to most opinions, was born in Medina. But then when his father, our 10th Imam, was brought to Samarra under house arrest by the Abbasid Caliphate, then his young son, Imam Hassan Askari, went with him. So they went together, our 10th and our 11th Imam, from Medina to Samarra in present-day Iraq. And that is where they spent the rest of their life. Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, he was martyred in Samarra. And then in that same house, Imam Hassan al-Askari was also kept under house arrest, and he was martyred and buried, father and son, the 11th and the 12th Imam, both of them in Samarra. So the 2 Imams were known as Al-Askariyan because Askar refers to a military encampment, and Samarra was primarily a military encampment. The other name for Samarra was Al-Askar. And so Imam Ali Naqi was the first Imam known as Al-Askari, but more famously we know Imam Hassan Askari, our 11th Imam, by that title of Al-Askari. That is not a title of praise as we have for most of our Imams. The famous title that we have for them is an attribute of nobility. So for example, we say Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. Baqir refers to the oceans of knowledge or the spring of knowledge that flowed from his teaching and which opened so many doors of guidance and knowledge for the Muslims. Ja'far as-Sadiq, Sadiq also means somebody who is veracious, is known for their honesty. And that was a title of nobility or honor. And the same thing applies to our Imams. Imam Hassan Al Askari, he also has titles of nobility. The most famous is Az-Zaki, meaning the pure one, from the same root as zakat, which means the purification of your wealth when you give what is commanded by Allah in His path. That is not giving or losing, but rather it is protecting and preserving and purifying your wealth by dedicating what Allah has commanded in the path that Allah has taught us to. So that same root of zakah, that is where the word zaki comes from. And that is one of the titles of our 11th Imam, Imam Al-Hassan Az-Zaki Al-Askari, meaning the pure one or the purified one. So Imam Hassan Al-Askari, he lived in Samarra until his father was martyred in the year 254. And then for a very short period of only 6 years, Imam Al-Hassan Al-Askari alayhi salam was the Imam, and he led the Shia until his own martyrdom. He died, was martyred in the year 260, and from that time the imamat of our Imam, Imam Hujjat ibn al-Hassan al-Askari, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, it began. So the imamat of our 11th Imam was in some ways a preparation. What are some of the teachings of our 11th Imam? In one hadith, it is narrated that Imam Al-Hassan Al-Askari alayhi salam said, حُسْنُ الصُّورَةِ جَمَالٌ ظَاهِرٌ وَحُسْنُ الْعَقْلِ جَمَالٌ بَاطِنٌ. There are two kinds of beauty. Both of them are good. One is Jamal Zahir, an outward, visible, and apparent beauty. And that is Husn Surah. Surah can refer to your natural features. Some people, Allah has created them in a way that others find their physical features to be very beautiful and very attractive. But it can also be what we create. So my surah is not just my facial features, but also the way that I groom myself, the way that I dress, the way that I carry myself. So all of those things are part of my surah. The outward beautification of our body and our person and our clothing. And we can also say maybe some of the things associated with us, our accessories. It can be our car and maybe the bag that we carry with us, or briefcase, or other things that is all part of our outward appearance. This is not bad, it is good. It is jamalun zahir, but it is a superficial beauty. Then there is an inner beauty, and there are two primary benefits of focusing on the inner beauty. One is that it is going to directly lead to your salvation. Allah is not going to send us to heaven or hell on the basis of our outward appearance, but rather on the basis of our intention and our purity and the basis of our action. What is the root of our actions in sincerity and intention and in intellect? How much are we aware of our obligation to Allah? How sincere are we in carrying out that obligation? How carefully do we fulfill the commandments of Allah? And all of that comes from our inner self. So number one, your inner intellect is going to be the basis of your salvation. And the second benefit, which is the priority of your inner beauty over your outer beauty, is that it is something that is lasting. As we grow older, no matter what we might do, your outer beauty is eventually going to decline. It is a depreciating asset. But your inner beauty is not going to decline. If you take care of your faith, if you take care of your spiritual and intellectual development, then as you grow older, you will have greater wisdom, greater insight, even if your memory may fail. But your aql and your hikmah and the tawfiq that Allah will give you, it will continue to increase. You might not always have as sharp a memory. Where did you put your keys and what is a phone number and even what are certain data points? You might forget, but you will have a lifetime of habits formed on the basis of taqwa and piety. And that will give you wisdom, and that will give you depth. So once again, two benefits for the inner wisdom. Number one, it's not a losing asset. Right now, if you give me a certain valuable property, and you tell me every day it's going to become less valuable, then I'm not going to count on it too much. I'm not going to want to keep it, but I'm going to want to use it and utilize it as quickly as possible. If you give me stock and you say it's already at the highest valuation it's ever going to be, this is a technology that it's at its peak right now, and it's going to gradually be reduced, and then it will come to an end. So I'm not going to say, all right, let me now keep it and build upon it. I will say, let me get rid of it. Why? Because I know that it's not going to be any more valuable tomorrow than it is today. So your physical appearance, your jamal zahir, your outward appearance, that is going to be a depreciating asset. Then people start to feel sad that I don't look as young as I used to in the past. And then they start to say, if you're taking my picture, you have to take it from this side. That's my good side. Don't take it from that side. And just give me a minute so I can change something and make myself look a little bit better, or I can cover up the white hairs or the wrinkles. And then after the picture is taken, they might say, well, apply some filter, make it. But this is all something which is superficial. And even if you have the makeup, even if you have a surgery, even if you make all the changes, the reality doesn't change. And one day you're going to have to look in the mirror and come to terms with the fact that this body was never meant to be everlasting. It's never meant to be forever. So take care of your jamal zahir only insofar as Allah has told us to take care of it. It's a depreciating asset, but Allah is the owner of that asset. And so He has told us that when you come to Jum'ah, when you come to the masjid, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ masjid. Adorn yourself. Not because you are arrogant about your appearance, but because you want to honor the masjid, you want to honor Allah, and so you will take care of your physical appearance, your outward beauty, for the sake of serving your Creator. In other words, your concern for your jamal zahir is part of your concern for your jamal batin. It is part of your wisdom and your obedience for Allah. But then don't count too much on it. Many times, we don't invest in our thinking. We're not careful where we get our information from. We're not careful to be connected to sources not just of facts and data, but rather of insight and guidance. These days, in society in general, and even in the religious sphere, you will find so many sources of information. They will, just like a parrot, recite facts and data for you, and you'll think that they're so knowledgeable. And you will feel like you are gaining knowledge as well. I know so many details and so many facts. But that is not going to be a source of guidance. It is not going to be a source of deep faith. A person can memorize an encyclopedia, but not have wisdom, not have depth, not have aql. And so the source of guidance that I need to turn to are those people of piety and knowledge who have lived a life of purity and faith and have been given hikmah by Allah. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. That is the Jamal Batin. Not information, data, facts, but aql, to have wisdom. So Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salatu wassalam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he tells us that there is a distinction between your outward beauty and your inner beauty. Your outward beauty is how you look, with your natural features and your attire, your clothing, your grooming, and all of those things that you can control outwardly. But your true beauty is that which is on the inside, and that is your aql, and that comes from Allah, from obedience and from tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Another hadith that we have from our 11th Imam is a very profound hadith. It is reported that he said, "Man lam yattaqi wujuha an-nas, lam yattaqi Allah." We always speak about taqwa, and some people have a misunderstanding that taqwa means that you are careful of your duty to Allah, and therefore I don't care about any other people. Doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't bother me whether I create enemies wherever I go. It doesn't bother me if maybe I am a little bit rude or a little bit harsh with somebody. I only care about Allah. Sometimes if I see somebody making a mistake, I will yell at them or I will tell them that you are wrong. And maybe I will even hurt their feelings or I will insult them, and I'll think I'm doing a good thing. Why? Because I'm giving the message of Allah. Don't you know that's wrong? Don't you know that's haram? And that is not the true attribute of taqwa. Our Prophet was told that it is a mercy of Allah that linta lahum, you are soft and kind with people. And that was contrasted with وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ. You are not hard-hearted and rude with people. So to be truly pious is to be kind and considerate of other people. And also to be careful of the whisperings and the reputation that you have in the eyes of the people. مَنْ لَمْ يَتَّقِ النَّاسِ لَمْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. People, they will speak. And sometimes, if I am not protective of my reputation, if I say, let them say whatever they want, then they might assume something that is un-Islamic about me. Now, I should not worry too much about what people say, because in the end, my honor and my obligation does not lie with people. My honor lies in the hands of Allah. My obligation lies to Allah. But just like my body is given to me by Allah, my reputation is also given to me by Allah. It is the property of Allah. If people are assuming something bad about me, or they are saying something bad about me, then I should be protective and I should be careful of my reputation. Sometimes, especially young people, they think that it is a little fashionable to have a reputation as being extreme. Maybe, that this person, they have a little bit of a harsh tongue. Maybe they live life on the edge. They drive in a dangerous manner. They play sports in a reckless manner. Sometimes even peer groups, they will encourage us to have that kind of a reckless or an undignified reputation. And this is against the teaching of our Imam. Man lam yattaqi wujuhan nas. If you are not careful about your reputation and what people say and what people think about you, then lam yattaqillah. You will not have piety with Allah, because Allah wants your piety to be in such a way that you can live among people and be of benefit to people. And if I have destroyed my reputation among people, then how am I going to be effective in my circle of family or friends or community? So be protective of your reputation. But don't think that the people are the ones who give you izzah and honor. Don't think that your salvation or your sustenance lies in the hands of people. Think of your reputation as a divine trust. You should be protective of it, but in the end, remember that whether it be our Prophet or Ahlul Bayt or the previous prophets, all of them were insulted, all of them were given false accusations. They did not leave their reputation to be destroyed without being careful and protective of it. But then if people said things that were not worthy, they were not concerned in the end because their obligation was to Allah. And so keep that balance. Be protective of your honor and your reputation. And once you have done that, don't worry about what people may say, even if they make up false accusations, and even if they may be envious or they may be unkind to yourself. In the end, your sustenance and your salvation does not lie in their hands. May Allah keep us on the right path. May Allah guide us to beautify our intellect and our inner beauty. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to have true taqwa, where we are conscious of our duty to our Creator and we are conscious of our reputation and our social responsibilities in our society. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى علي أمير المؤمنين وعلى فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وعلى الحسن والحسين وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن القائم المهدي صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. صلوات. All praise is due to Allah for His bounties, and we seek forgiveness for myself and for all mu'mineen for our shortcomings. In the second khutbah, just one final third hadith from our 11th Imam. Remember, the first hadith, the Imam told us that we have an outer beauty and an inner beauty, and the inner beauty is more important. In the second hadith, he told us that if we want to truly be pious and have taqwa of Allah, then we should also be concerned about our reputation in society. And in this third and very beautiful hadith, our 11th Imam is reported to have said, من الذنوب التي لا تغفر قول الرجل ليتني لا أؤاخذ إلا بهذا. One of the sins that Allah does not forgive is for a person to say, if only this were my only sin. Outwardly, that is a sign of humility. Meaning, I know I have other sins, and I say, if only this were my sole sin. So what's wrong with that? I'm admitting that I have other sins. I'm admitting in an expression of humility that I am not perfect. Why is this a sin that will not be forgiven? Because I'm taking one sin and I'm singling it out and I am saying it's not a big deal. Although I am admitting that I have many sins, although that is maybe superficially, and a person might fool myself into thinking that this is a sign of humility. In reality, it is a sign of indifference to Allah, of neglecting the gravity of disobeying Allah. Sometimes different people we have that, if only my only mistake is that sometimes I get angry with no reason. I'm a very good person. I give my sadaqah, I give my wajib obligations, I perform my prayers, I help out with my needy family members. But sometimes I'm just a little careless about Salatul Fajr. If only this were my only mistake, I would be good. So I am belittling one sin. Some people, it might be being a little bit careless and delaying some of their prayers. Other people, it might be a characteristic of our akhlaq, where we are harsh, or sometimes maybe we gossip, or we tell stories, or we are not always honest. And they say that if this were my only mistake, then I would be okay. This is not that big a deal. Does Allah really care? Any sin that I think is not a big deal, it becomes a big deal. Not because of the gravity of the sin, but because if I say to somebody who has created me and to whom I owe my existence and everything that I have, it doesn't really matter. Do you really care? Then that is an act of arrogance in front of Allah. So whenever there is a sin that I am guilty of, I shouldn't use my own limited intellect to say, well, how big a deal is it? What harm have I done to Allah? Even the biggest sin does no harm to Allah. Even the most persistent sinner has not taken anything away from the kingdom or the authority or the power of Allah. But even the most insignificant transgression, if I belittle it and I say it's not a big deal, then that is a grave sin that will not be forgiven, because it is Allah that we are committing the sin against, that we are transgressing against. May Allah protect us from committing sins. And if we make mistakes, may Allah protect us from ever thinking that any sin is insignificant. It's not a big deal. This is not such a major concern. Or sometimes we look at people who are not practicing as much as we are. Maybe I miss Salatul Fajr, na'udhu billah, but I have a friend who doesn't even pray. I say, well, I do 4 prayers on time. Sometimes I stay asleep, I don't wake up for Fajr. I'm okay. No, Allah will judge that person based on their upbringing, based on their intellect. Maybe He will forgive, maybe He will punish, I don't know. But Allah will judge me based on what He has given me of upbringing and insight and knowledge. And I cannot say that just because I'm better than this person, therefore I can take it easy and I can say that my sins are not significant. May Allah forgive us and guide us and protect us. And may Allah keep us on the straight path. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. صلاة